Welcome to your meditation for today. My name is Kayla, and I will be your guide. And really, I am truly just a guide, so the cues and practices that I suggest throughout this meditation is, really just a suggestion. So know that you are your own best teacher, but I hope that my guidance leads you to a place of clarity. You can find a comfortable seat for yourself for the meditation. It'll be about 20 minutes. And you can sit on the ground, can lean up against a wall. You can sit in a chair if this is more comfortable for you. But ideally, we want to have a straight spine. You can grab any props that you might need to put under your knees. Maybe a blanket to keep you warm. And when you've found your comfortable seated position, you can bring a very slight tuck into your chin so that the top of your head is reaching towards the sky. I invite you to close your eyes, and if this is not comfortable for you, no problem. You can have a very soft gaze at a still point in front of you. This will also work. There's no need to look at the screen for this recording. It'll just be the same image throughout, so you can also dim your screen if it will potentially distract you, and just listen to the guidance of my voice. You can start by bringing some awareness into your breath, not trying to change it or alter it in any way, but just to become aware of it. Just turning our attention inwards. Feeling the contact points to the earth, whether that's our feet on the ground or our sit bones, and really grounding ourselves into the meditation through sensation and breath. Finding ourselves in this moment. This meditation will be focused on bringing a sense of clarity into the mind. I will guide you through an exercise called Catching the Uncaught Mind. And so the mind has this tendency, as I'm sure you're aware, to be a bit like a ship on a sea with no anchor, bouncing around through all the waves and seeming a bit hectic at times. This practice really acts as an anchor for the ship of the mind. So the way that it works is we're going to count internally from 1 to 7, from 1 to 14, from 1 to 21, and so on like this, increasing the count by increments of 7. And you count on the exhale, so you'll inhale and then count 1, inhale and count 2, and so on like this. So you can begin at any time. And once you reach 7, we come back to 1 and work our way up to 14. And so on like this. Counting each exhale. And know that there is no goal to reach a high number. This is not the purpose. Rather, we are catching the mind when it wanders away from the numbers and compassionately recognizing this drift and bringing ourselves back to the practice. So if your mind gets lost in the storm, no problem. We simply start all the way back at that very first number, from 1 to 7, 1 to 14, and so on like this. You may make it up to 28. You may not get past 4. There is no good or bad meditation. And it's important not to set expectation. Allowing the breath and the counting to be our anchor. Cultivating discernment for our practice. Staying with the count. Remembering that anytime we lose track of the counting. Anytime we forget where we are, or we find ourselves in a daydream, we simply come back to the counting and start back at 1. Meeting this wandering mind with compassion, coming back to the practice, back to the counting. The mind may tell stories that this is not helping, or the mind is too busy, but we just recognize this thought, acknowledge it, to compassionately return back to the counting, back to the breath. Counting on our exhale in increments of 7. Many people believe that meditation is the practice of sitting in thoughtlessness, that one must have a clear mind, an empty mind, in order to meditate. This is not the case. This practice is allowing those thoughts, not denying the human experience of the mind, but rather recognizing when the thoughts are pulling us away and bringing ourselves back to the present moment, back to the counting. The practice of remembering and returning to our anchor. Knowing there is no goal here. We aren't trying to reach some high number. We are simply catching when the mind wanders, coming back to the practice, back to the breath. And when we drift away from the count, no problem. Simply start at the very first one once again. Slowly now you can return back to your natural breath, dropping the count. And just perceiving the breath again as it naturally is. Noticing any changes in the breath or the mind since we first began. feeling the breath caressing the heart space. And bringing the hands up to the heart, whether this is one on top of the other or perhaps in a prayer position. And cultivating a sense of love and gratitude for yourself for showing up and practicing today. Slowly batting your eyes open if they weren't open already. And moving into the rest of your day with a little bit more clarity and presence. The divine in me sees and honors the divine in you. Namaste.